Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 5. The Nomads. The next morning, Bella was waked by an unusual brightness. She opened her eyes and saw a clear yellow light streaming at her window. She couldn't quite believe it and hurried to check. Sure enough, there was the sun, though it was in the wrong place in the sky. Too low, she thought. Clouds ringed the horizon, but a large patch of blue was visible in the middle. She lingered by the window as long as she could, afraid that if she left even for a while the blue will disappear again. La Push. First Beach. It was only 15 miles to La Push from Forks. With gorgeous green forest etching the road most of the way and the wide Quileute River snaking beneath it twice. The weather was pleasant along the way and Bella soaked up much sunlight as possible, but the ominous clouds suddenly materialized and the sky became opaque again, and the temperature dropped slightly. Nonetheless, it was still breathtaking. The water was dark gray, and islands rose out of the Steel Harbor waters, which was sheer cliff size, reaching into unevenly undulating summits and crowned with soaring firs. The beach had only a thin border of actual sand at the water's edge, after which it grew into millions of large smooth stones that looked uniformly gray from a distance but up close were every shade a stone could be. The tide line was strewn with huge driftwood trees, bleached bone white in the salt waves, some piled together at the edge of the forest fringe, some lying solitary just out of reach of the waves. There was a brisk wind coming from the waves. It was cool and briny. Pelicans floated on the swells while seagulls and a lone eagle wheeled above them. They picked their way down to the beach with Mike leading them to a ring of driftwood logs that has obviously been used for parties like theirs before. There was a fire circle already in place, filled with black ashes. Eric and the other boys gathered broken branches of driftwood from the drier piles against the forest edge and soon has teepee-shaped construction built atop of the old cinders. It's freezing in here. When are you guys planning to light it? And where's Alex, by the way? Are you sure he's coming? Jessica queried with a bit of irritation in her face. Relax, Jessica. I called him a while ago. He's coming. Just got a little lost on the way here, Eric explained while putting on his wetsuit. Have you ever seen a driftwood fire? He then turned to Bella, who was seating on one of the bone-colored benches. Why didn't he tag along with us, by the way? Tyler asked as he lit one of the smaller sticks with a cigarette lighter and then placed the now blazing twig carefully on the teepee. The dry wood quickly started to catch fire, crackling as it burned in multi-hued flames. I'm not sure, but I heard him said something about picking up his ride or something like that, Mike answered, a bit uncertain himself, though it was sufficient to satisfy the curiosities of the enquiring crowd. Meanwhile, Bella and Angela moved to a car nearby as they conversed. So I keep thinking that Eric is going to ask me to the prom and he just doesn't, Angela said with a gloomy tone. You should ask him. Take control, you're a strong, independent woman, Bella encouraged her. I am, Angela said as her eyes slowly bristled with hope. Yes, Bella firmly replied, that made Angela smile and be filled with courage. Bella, a voice greeted Bella which made her turn around to see a face she hadn't seen for a while. It was Jacob Black along with two of his friends Sam Yulee and Embry Call. Hi Jacob. Guys, this is Jacob, Bella greeted back and introduced Jacob and his friends. Jacob sat next to Bella. What are you stalking me? She teased him. You're in our resh, remember? Jacob teased back. Suddenly a basalt black 2009 Porsche Carrera GT got their attention as it parked near them. They were further astounded when they learned that Alex was the driver behind it. I'm so sorry for being late. I kinda took the wrong turn back there. I hope I didn't miss anything, Alex said as he clumsily exited his car in frantic. Whoa, nice car, dude, Eric said with a shimmer in his eyes. Thanks, she's my favorite, Alex said, regaining some of his composure as he and Eric approached the others. Bella introduced him to Jacob and his friends, who he got along just fine. Are you surfing? Jacob asked Bella. Definitely not, Bella replied while offering him some licorice. You guys should keep Bella company. Her date bailed, Jessica said in a semi-concerned sweet tone, masking her hidden angst against Bella. What date? Eric inquired with a harsh quivering voice and a worried look. She invited Edward, Jessica giggled. To be polite, that's it, Bella awkwardly said as she recalled her conversation with Edward at the cafeteria. I think it's nice she invited him. Nobody ever does, Angela said with a genuine expression of commiseration on her face. Yeah, 'cause Cullen's a freak, Mike said without hesitation, as if some bottled-up annoyance finally surged out of his system like a solar flare. You got that right, Sam said in agreement. You guys know him. Bella wondered. The Cullens don't come here, he replied, which bewildered Bella more than before. Subsequently, they caught a gaze on the awkwardly silent Alex as if he is in deep contemplation. Something bothering you, man? Mike asked him. Well, now that you mentioned it, I've been getting a lot of nasty glares from Edward and his friend lately. I don't know why though, Alex replied with both a disturbed and bemused expression. You mean Naruto? Angela inferred. Yeah, the one who looks like a solid believer, Alex quipped, that made everyone laugh except Bella, whose curiosity was further fueled. Unbeknownst to them, Naruto, utilizing Toten no Jutsu, was listening to their conversation 200 feet away. Believer, huh? I will smash that pretty boy's face. Believe it, he thought with a funny exasperated expression on his face and a cruciform popping vein in his forehead. Bella and Jacob started walking on the beach, leaving Angela with Sam and Embry to keep her company while the others are surfing, or in the case of Alex, peering on a pair of binoculars in hopes that some less diffident whales would reveal themselves. What did your friends mean about, the Cullens don't come here? Bella asked, realizing it is the perfect opportunity for such an inquiry. You caught that, huh? Jacob replied. I'm not really supposed to say anything about it, he further supplemented with a nervous voice. Hey, can I keep a secret? Bella said with a gentle smile. Really, it's just like an old scary story, Jacob said, followed by an involuntary and odd-sounding nervous laugh as he is about to be cornered from the cascade of questions that has been increasingly insurmountable to avoid. Well, I want to know, Bella said in a persuading tone coupled with puppy dog eyes that made Jacob finally submit and furnish her with the information she's desired. Okay, did you know Quileutes are supposed to be descended from wolves? Jacob told her with much enthusiasm. What, like wolves? Real wolves? Bella amusedly queried. Well, that's the legend of our tribe. Okay, so what's the story about the Cullens? Jacob took a second before answering her question, as if he is carefully choosing the words that will come out of his mouth. Well, they're supposed to be descended to this, like enemy clan. My great-grandfather, the chief, found them hunting in our land. But they claimed to be something different, so we made a treaty with them. If they promise to stay off from Quileute lands, then we won't expose who they really were to the pale faces. I thought they just moved here, Bella said. She felt that her curiosity and confusion is starting to eat through her again. Or just moved back, Jacob replied. They were suddenly alerted by a shriek. But it turns out that it was just Angela being pranked by Eric. What are they exactly? Bella asked once more in hopes that Jacob will reveal more information. It's just a story, Bella. Come on, let's go. Jacob looked amused but no longer willing to tell more. As soon as Bella got home, she got on her laptop and looked up Quileute legends. She found a website that redirected her to a Quileute bookstore called Thunderbird and Whale located in Port Angeles. She then clicked maps and wrote the bookstore's address on a piece of paper. Quote, Waylon was at the docks fixing his boat while listening to some music when suddenly he noticed that someone's lurking around. Joe, he called in hopes that it was just his friend who unexpectedly arrived. But there was no answer. Waylon became increasingly worried, starting the boat, then putting it on reverse for a quick escape, as he thought that a wild animal such as a wolf or perhaps a bear has wandered near in search of food. He suddenly felt the boat waggle as if it was dragged forward by a creature of immense strength. He lost his balance and stumbled into the boat. As he stood up, he was surprised and mesmerized to see a beautiful woman standing in front of him. She had long, curly, bright orange hair that looked like fire and possessed a seductive, feline beauty. Hello, Waylon said in a flirtatious tone, but was suddenly startled when he heard a voice behind his back. Nice jacket, said the voice in a feral-like tone. Waylon turned around and saw a muscular man with long blonde hair tied behind his back like a ponytail. The latter was looking at him like a lion staring at his prey before going for the kill. Who are you? Waylon asked, nervously. It's always the same questions. Who are you? The blonde man said mockingly. He seemed to find pleasure tormenting him. What do you want? The orange-haired woman supplemented. Why are you doing this? The blonde man once again continued. James, let's not play with our food, said another voice. Waylon looked under his shoulder and saw a dark-skinned man with dreadlocks and was garbed in the fashion of the previous centuries. The orange-haired woman moved with blinding swiftness and then kicked Waylon, making him fall flat on his boat. The trio of vampires abruptly pressed him on the floor. They then sank their teeth on him and fed on his blood until he died. Quote, quote. The next morning Bella was yet again awakened by the bright sunlight emanating through her window. The temperature was pleasantly warm and cozy. It was quite rare for the sun to reveal itself in this cloudy little town, and rarer still for it to do so twice in succession. She washed and dressed in less than half the time she usually does to relish the meteorological miracle. Arriving at school earlier than she usually does, she saw everyone was apparently in a good mood and basking in the warm radiance of the relatively extraordinary phenomenon. Jessica was sunbathing on a table, while Mike, Tyler and Eric were playing frisbee, and Alex seemed to be content reading a book under the shade of a tree. Her eyes were animate however, searching for a particularly elusive face she couldn't spot among the crowd. He's not here, Jessica said concisely, accurately deducing who she's looking for. Whenever the weather's nice, the Cullens disappear. She then continued while soaking as much vitamin D as possible. What, did they just ditch? Bella inquired honestly. There's no longer a reason for subterfuge since she already got caught. No, Dr. and Mrs. Cullen yanked them out for camping and hiking, and stuff. I tried that on my parents, not even close. Jessica replied. The sunlight distracted her from normally asking several counter-inquiries for every question she answers. Guys, Jessica said as she rushed to them. I'm going to the prom with Eric. I took control. She then continued excitedly as she announced the good news to Bella and Jessica. I told you that would happen. Bella said with a broad smile and hugged Angela. Are you sure you have to go out of town? Angela asked Bella in a downcast tone. Yeah, it's a family thing, Bella responded. Okay, we should go shopping at Port Angeles before all the good dresses get cleaned out, Jessica suggested. Port Angeles, can I come? Bella sheepishly queried. Yeah, I need your opinion. Angela excitedly responded. Quote, quote, Bella's house, after school. Bella had fish marinating for dinner along with salad and bread left from the night before. There's no housework left for her to do and decided to spend a focused half-hour on homework, but before she knew it, she's finished all of them too. She then opened her laptop and checked her email, seeing the backlogged emails from Renee, getting snippier as they progressed to the present. She sighed as she typed a quick response. Mom, I've been out, went to the beach with some friends. And I have to write a paper. She realized that her excuse was pathetic, so she gave up on that and wrote a new one. It's sunny outside. I know, I'm shocked too, so I'm going outside and soak up as much vitamin D as I could. I love you, Bella. After a while, Bella decided to kill an hour with non-school related reading. She had a small collection of books she brought with him to Forks, the shabbiest volume being a compilation of the works of Jane Austen, which she selected, then grabbing a ragged old quilt from the linen cupboard she went out to the backyard. Outside in Charlie's small square yard she folded the quilt in half and laid it down out of the reach of the trees, shadows, on the thick lawn that would always be slightly wet no matter how long the sun shone. She lay on her stomach crossing her ankles in the air, flipping through the different novels in the book, trying to decide which would occupy her mind the most thoroughly. Her favorites were Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. She read the first most recently, so she started reading Sense and Sensibility, only to remember after she began reading on chapter 3 that the hero of the story happened to be named Edward. Angrily, she turned into Mansfield Park, but the hero of that piece is named Edmund, and that was just too close. Weren't any other names available in the 18th century? She said, annoyed as she snapped the book shut and rolled over to her back. She pushed her sleeves up as high as they would go and closed her eyes. I would think nothing but the warmth of my skin, she told herself, severely. The breeze was still light, but it blew 10 rolls of her hair and it tickled a bit. She pulled all of her hair over her head, letting it fan out on the quilt above her, and focused again on the heat that touched her eyelids, her cheekbones, her nose, her lips, her forearms and her neck, soaked through her light shirt. The tender warm rays of the sun were so soothing that she inadvertently fell asleep. Bella then found herself once again face to face with the great tree from her past dream. She saw the elfin star within its inner branches quivering, its flares engulfing the fiery sphere like blight. A burst of monochromatic wave of energy then emanated as it collapsed upon itself. The monoliths, the watchtower, the macabre wall and even the landscape itself surreally disintegrated like a feeble flame blown away by the winds of darkness, leaving nothing but a void and empty space. All that remained of the once awe-inspiring realm were the great tree itself and a violently convulsing amorphous energy that used to be its symbiote star. Bella then beheld as the nebulous energy blackened like an eclipse and warped itself into an anthropomorphic shape. It took the form similar to a pitch-black silhouette of a youth, and was riddled with star-like spots all over its shadow-like body, as if someone took a piece of the infinite universe and shaped it into the looming entity. A cloak of fiery white energy ignited and emanated from the entity as it opened its glowing eyes. Bella froze in fear as she realized that the former's attention is now turned to her. She tried to run into the nothingness of the void, but the eldritch being blinked itself in front of her. "Isabella." It then held out its hand and spoke in a cold, eerie and echoing voice. "Get away from me!" Bella screamed in fear. The entity paid no attention to her frantic and continued to hover closer and closer to where she stood. "Bella." She then heard a pleasantly penetrating voice that roused her from her nightmare. "Bella, wake up." The entity and the dream then dissolved like foam as her senses returned to the waking world. As she slowly opened her eyes, the first thing she saw a strikingly beautiful and iridescent pair of sapphire-like bright blue eyes staring at her. Its owner was dangerously close to her face. Flabbergasted, the first thing that came in mind was a particular move she learned at self-defense class, back in Phoenix. She thumped the guy right on his chin, then kneed him on the groin. She then quickly stood up and reached to her back pocket for the pepper spray that Charlie gave her. "Who are you?" "I'm gonna call the police," Bella demanded while aiming the pepper spray at her assailant, who was still groaning in pain. "Ouch, what you do that for, Bella? And what's with the pepper spray?" he bellowed in a familiar accented voice. "Alex, is that you?" Bella inquired with a confused expression on her face. "Yeah, it's me," Alex awkwardly retorted in a relatively wobbly and squeaky voice while trying to stand up. "What are you doing here?" Bella asked suspiciously, not letting her guard down. She had the pepper spray's nozzle still aimed at Alex's face. "You left this at biology class earlier, so Angela and I came here to give it back." Alex grunted while handing Bella her notebook. "We heard you screaming, so I sprinted as fast as I could to check what's happening and saw you lying on the ground, apparently having a nightmare of some sort. When I tried to wake you up, you whacked me in the chin and kneed me in the, oh you know very well where." He then continued with an expression of extreme discomfort on his face. "Okay, could we put away the bloody pepper spray now?" "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you all right?" Bella staggeringly said as she slowly realized what really happened. "Well, aside from the fact that I'm possibly no longer capable of ever siring children, yes, I suppose I am," Alex said, still trying to lighten things up even though in obvious pain. As if on cue, Angela nervously walked in with her phone clasped in one hand. "I already called 911. Oh my God, what happened?" she cried out, shocked as she saw Bella helping Alex stand up. The young man looked like he was brutally attacked. "There was a little accident, but it was nothing," Alex responded. "Yeah, it was a false alarm," Bella sheepishly supplemented. Sure enough, Charlie's cruiser came screeching in after a few minutes, and it would appear that he brought the entire Forks police force with him. It was an awkward moment that became gradually more uncomfortable as they explained how it was all a mistake. Quote, "Later that day the awkward situation finally quells down and everyone went on their way home. Bella then remembered that dinner's not ready yet, so she immediately started preparing it. "Sorry Dad, dinner's gonna be late tonight," Bella said as she fried the fish. "Don't worry about it, I wanted to catch the score on the game anyway," Charlie said as he hanged his gun belt and stepped out of his boots. After they had dinner, Bella decided to watch TV with Charlie, for something to do. There isn't anything on she wanted to watch though. The former knew she didn't really like baseball and turned the channel to some mindless sitcom that neither of them enjoyed. He seemed happy nonetheless, that he and his daughter are doing something together. Same goes with Bella, despite her depression. Dad, Bella said during a commercial, Jessica and Angela are going to look for dresses tomorrow night and they wanted me to help them choose. Do you mind if I go with them? Jessica Stanley, Charlie asked, and Angela Weber. Bella sighed as she gave him the details. But you're not going to the dance, right? Charlie queried again, confused. No, Dad, but I'm helping them find dresses. You know, giving them constructive criticisms. Bella explained. I wouldn't have to explain this to a woman, she then thought. Well, okay, Charlie gawkily said, realizing he's out of his depth with the girly stuff. It's a school night though. We'll leave right after school so we could get back early. You'll be okay for dinner, right? Bells, I fed myself for 17 years before you got her, Charlie reminded him. I don't know how you survived. Bella muttered. I'll leave some things for the cold cut sandwich, okay? Right on top. She then continued. Quote, the weather was fairly nice in the morning. Bella awakened with a renewed hope that she grimly tried to suppress. She dressed for the warmer weather in a deep blue, V-neck blouse, something she wore in the dead of winter in Phoenix. She planned her arrival at school so that she's barely in time to make it to class. With a sinking heart she circled the full lot looking for a space, while also searching for the silver Volvo that was clearly not there. Bella parked in the last row and hurried to English, arriving breathless but subdued before the final bell. It was the same as yesterday. She couldn't keep little sprouts of hope from budding in her mind, only to have them squashed painfully as she searched the lunchroom in vain. Quote, after school Jessica followed Bella home in her old white Mercury so that the latter could ditch her books and truck. Bella brushed her hair quickly when she was inside, feeling a slight lift of excitement as she contemplated getting out of Forks. She then left a note for Charlie on the table, explaining again where to find dinner. Switching her scruffy wallet and school bag to a purse she rarely used, she ran out to join Jessica. They went to Angela's house next and she's waiting for them. Bella's excitement increased exponentially as they drove out of the town's limits. Quote, Port Angeles. Jessica drove fast, much faster than Charlie, so they made it to their destination by 4. It has been a while since Bella had a girls' night out and the estrogen rush was invigorating. They listened to whiny rock songs while Jessica jabbered on about her dinner with Mike, who apparently has gone very well. Port Angeles was a beautiful little tourist trap, much more polished and quaint than Forks. But Jessica and Angela knew it well, so they didn't plan to waste time on the picturesque boardwalk by the bay. They drove straight to the one big department store in town, which was a few streets in from the Bay Area's visitor-friendly face. The dress section wasn't large, but both of them found something to try on. Bella sat on a low chair outside the dressing room, contemplating about the bookstore she wanted to visit while in town. Jessica ended torn between two dresses. The first was a long, strapless, basic black number, and the other was a knee-length, electric blue spaghetti straps. The blue, it'll bring out your eyes, Bella said. Jessica did have startling blue eyes, in contrast to her brown, curly hair. Angela, on the other hand, chose a pale pink dress that draped over her tall frame nicely. Bella complimented both of them generously and helped by returning the reject to their racks. Okay, I like this one, it makes my boobs look good, Jessica said while trying on a pink dress. Suddenly a group of louts passed by, one of them knocked on the glass. Hey, nice, he said, ribaldry, while ogling the girls. Bella, what do you think? She then inquired as soon as the group of ruffians left, hoping for a positive opinion. Looks great, Bella said. You said that about like the last 5 dresses though, Jessica responded, not convinced of Bella's replies. I thought they were all pretty good, Bella again said, smiling. You're not really all into this, are you? Angela said with a gentle voice, deducing that Bella's lack of interest and distraction. I just really want to go into the bookstore, Bella said honestly. Meet you guys in the restaurant. Are you sure? Jessica asked her. Yeah, see you in a minute. Okay, both Jessica and Angela exclaimed. Quote, Bella hadn't had any trouble looking for the bookstore. She shifted through the selection of various books and saw the particular volume she was looking for. She then headed straight to the counter, paid the item and went on her way to rendezvous with Angela and Jessica. Have a good night, said the bookstore attendant as Bella egressed the premises. Thank you. Bella started to walk along the alley, into a few shops around the corner, but as she crossed another road, she realized that she's going the wrong direction as she couldn't see the landmark she passed on her way to the bookstore. Furthermore, it looks like the buildings where she's at are mostly warehouses. She decided to turn east on the next corner and loop around after a few blocks, and try her luck on a different street on her way to the boardwalk. A group of 4 men turned around the corner where she's heading. They were dressed too casually to be heading home from the office, but were too grimy to be tourists. As they approached Bella, she realized that they were not too many years older than she is. They were joking loudly among themselves, laughing raucously and punching each other's arms. Bella scooted as far to the inside of the sidewalk as she could to give them room, walking swiftly and looking past them to the corner. "Hey there," one of them called as they passed, and he was obviously talking to her since nobody else is around. She glanced up automatically. 2 of them have paused while the other 2 were slowing. The closest, a heavy-set dark-haired man in his early 20s, seemed to be the one who have spoken. Bella then looked away and walked faster towards the corner. She could hear them laughing at full volume behind her. "Hey wait," one of them called after her again. She kept her head down and rounded the corner with a sigh of relief. She could still hear them chortling behind her. Bella then found herself in a sidewalk leading past the back of several somber-colored warehouses, each with large bay doors for unloading trucks, padlocked for the night. The south side of the street had no sidewalk, only chain-link fence topped with barbed wire protecting some kind of engine parts storage yard. She then realized that she had wandered far past the part of Port Angeles that she, a guest, was intended to see. The crunch of gravel startled her, and made her glance around to see the 2 men from the group she passed by a little over 5 minutes ago, walking quietly about 20 feet behind her. It gave Bella an unnerving sensation and her heart started to beat faster. She started to rummage at her purse only to realize that she left her pepper spray at home. Of all time, she thought, distressed. Suddenly the dark-haired man who catcalled her earlier suddenly appeared with his other friend and intercepted her path, while the other 2 behind her was getting ever closer, entrapping her, preventing any escape. "There she is," he said, lewdly. "What's up, girl?" he then continued as he ogled her. "Where are you going? Hang out with us. What's the problem?" The others wheeled around Bella, perversely eyeing her like vultures who just found fresh carrion. "Don't touch me," Bella muttered. Her warning was supposed to be strong and fearless, but it came out scared and small. They were all completely drunk. Her protest fell on deaf ears and laughed raucously instead. One of them grabbed her, intending to rip her clothes off and rape her. Suddenly a silver Volvo appeared, almost hitting the stocky one, forcing him to jump back away from her and into the sidewalk. "Get in the car," Edward, who was the driver of the Volvo, said as he got out of his car. He then glared at the 4 severely, wanting to tear them apart. Bella jumped into the car as quickly as she could and slammed the door shut, locking it with fumbling fingers. "That was a very dangerous move," the stocky one said, but his voice quavered in the end. He was taken aback and suddenly felt sober from an intense fear he couldn't comprehend, as he beheld Edward's angry glare. Edward then hopped back into his car. Its tire squealed as the machine spun around and faced north, accelerating too quickly, swerving the stunned men on the street. "He drives like he's drag racing," Bella thought as Edward turned left sharply and exited on the main road, overtaking other cars. "I should go back there and rip those guys' heads off," Edward sighed, bridled in barely controlled anger. "No you shouldn't," Bella said, trying to calm him down. "You don't know the vile, repulsive things they're thinking," Edward retorted. "And you do?" Bella inquired. The question caught Edward by surprise and temporarily forgot his wrath. "It's not hard to guess. Will you talk about something else? Distract me so I won't turn around," he then said, fabricating a believable premise and diverting the topic as they go. "You should put your seatbelt on," Bella told him. Edward laughed tautly. "Why don't you should put your seatbelt on?" he then said. It was past 6:30 when Bella arrived at the restaurant where she, Angela and Jessica decided to meet after their respective business. "Where were you? We left you messages," Angela inquired, worried but seemed relieved when she saw Bella. "Yeah, we waited but we're like starving, so Jessica said, sharing the same sentiment with Angela but was suddenly cut off when she saw who Bella was apparently with. I'm sorry I kept Bella from dinner. We just sort of ran to each other and start talking, Edward said in a velvety voice that made both girls giggle. No, we totally understand. That happens, right? Jessica said with a smile, now in full comprehension of the reason behind Bella's late arrival. We were, Bella said but couldn't finish her sentence. Oh yeah, we were just leaving. Jessica finished the sentence for her. She and Angela are giggling, an indication that they would extract every juicy detail of Bella's date with Edward. I think I should make sure Bella has something to eat, Edward then said, if you like. I'll drive you home myself. He then continued, looking at Bella, to which she just awkwardly nodded. That's really thoughtful, Angela said with a smile, happy for her friend. Yeah, I should eat something. Bella gawkily concurred. So see you tomorrow, Jessica said, the smile on her face might as well say, and tell me everything. All right, 1 mushroom ravioli. The waitress served Bella her order but her attention seemed to be focused on Edward. So are you sure there isn't anything I can get you? She then queried flirtatiously. No thank you, Edward replied in a low, attractive voice. Let me know, the waitress said yet again, and in the same flirtatious tone that made Bella's eyebrows furrow. You're really not gonna eat? Bella asked him while whirling her fork on the pasta. No, I'm on a special diet, Edward replied, smiling. You got to give me some answers. Yes, no, to get to the other side, 1.77725. I don't want to know the square root of pi is. Bella retorted, a bit miffed. You knew that, how do you know where I was? I didn't, right? Bella had it and was about to walk out on him. Bella, don't leave, Edward sighed. Did you follow me? I feel very protective of you. So you followed me. I tried keep my distance unless you needed my help and then I heard what those lowlifes are thinking. Wait, you said you heard what they were thinking? Bella inquired that made Edward pause and sigh. So you read minds, she then said in a tone that is more like an assumption than an inquiry. I can read every mind in this room, apart from yours. Edward decided to answer her honestly. Money, sex, money, cat, and then you, nothing, it's very frustrating, he then continued, pointing out to Bella the thoughts of everyone in the room, except hers. Is there something wrong with me? Bella wondered. I just told you I can read minds, and you think there's something wrong with you, Edward chuckled. The expression in his face suddenly turned somber. What is it? Bella asked. I don't have the strength to stay away from you anymore. Then don't. Meanwhile, the men who attempted to rape Bella earlier regrouped in a secluded part of Port Angeles. Along with some other louts, they partied, drinking beer and playing music in their cars, loudly. What happened a while ago was really weird, huh? One of the men said. Forget that, the other replied, handing him another can of beer and turning the music into max volume. How annoying that sound is, a shadowy figure on an unlit corner said in a soft-spoken but eerie and echoing voice. Who's there? The dark-haired man demanded with a stentorian voice, pulling a gun and aiming it on the stranger. Nobody. Just a wanderer enjoying the evening air. The entity once again spoke coldly and tranquil, then revealed himself to be the same dark deity who obliterated the elemental nations and confined the Sage of Six Paths in an otherworldly dimensional prison. Out of fright the man fired his gun continuously until he's out of bullets, but it was in vain as the eldritch entity laughed at his futile efforts. A demonic grin then formed from its silhouette-like, featureless face as he unleashed a bolt of monochromatic living lightning onto the thugs. The bizarre but frighteningly destructive fulmination leapt and branched out from target to target like it has a mind of its own, becoming more furious with every fresh arc. The carnage was so gruesome and mind-shattering to behold. Every living being in the vicinity was instantly destroyed, for they burst and exploded like balloons filled with blood as the eldritch lightning bolt connected. All that remained were red stains on the ground and on the walls, and fiery trails from where the intense bolts ignited the air and melted concrete as it traveled. Naruto, soon, the dark god said in a cold, eerie echoing voice. Then with a flash of blinding iridescent light disappeared into utter nothingness, leaving only a blood-curdling, echoing laughter that sounded like the requiem of madness. Chapter 6. Memento Mori. Edward accelerated his Volvo dangerously fast on their way back to Forks, while Bella on the other hand can't help herself but stare at him with a confounded expression on her face. The conversation they had back at the restaurant was quite interesting, so to speak. Though his confession partially satisfied her pondering, it also generated a myriad of even more profound questions. A trace of renewed curiosity lingered and nurtured itself at the back of her head like a half-smothered ember that has been dropped into a heap of dried leaves, and has secretly fed itself, biding for the time when it shall once again become an all-consuming flame that will burn an ever larger hole in her mind. "Okay, I think I'm warm enough now," Bella said, reaching for the heater dial at the same time Edward did as well, though the latter pulled his hand away quickly as it touched hers. She felt something strange about him. It roused her concern, for it was uncanny. His hand was strangely cold, like a stone. "Your hand is so cold," she then continued, but Edward didn't respond and just kept on driving. Bella felt that she offended Edward somehow and opted to be taciturn but vigilant. Her attention, however, was turned to the flashing police lights as they were about to pass the police station. "What is going on?" Bella said, curious and concerned. "My dad's still here. Can you pull in?" She then continued as she saw Charlie's cruiser still parked out front. Edward did so and parked his car in between Charlie's cruiser and a black Mercedes S550. "It's my father's car in the end." "What's he doing here?" he commented, wondering. "Carlisle, what's going on?" Edward then asked Carlisle, who was just exiting the station's door. "Waylon Forge was found in the woods out near his place. I just examined his body." Carlisle sighed and responded in a somber tone. Edward darkened upon hearing it and Bella was horrified. "He died. What happened?" Bella asked. She couldn't believe what she just heard. "Animal attack," Carlisle told her. He and Edward inconspicuously looked at each other, wordlessly concurring that Waylon was murdered by a vampire. "Was it the same one that killed the security guard down at Mason?" Bella said. She caught Carlisle and Edward subtly trading looks. Clearly there's more to this than they're letting her on. "Most likely," Carlisle responded with a somber expression on his face. "It's getting closer to town," Bella said, but was cut off by Carlisle. "Bella, you should go inside. Waylon was your father's friend," Carlisle told her in a gentle voice. "Okay," Bella said in agreement, as she could only surmise the pain Charlie must be going through right now. I'll see you later," she then said to Edward before entering the threshold of the police station. She saw Charlie devastated, sitting on his desk, looking at the photos, reports and evidences. Trying to make sense of his friend's death. He knew instinctively that there's more to this than just a mere animal attack. "Hey," Bella said in a low and solemn voice. "Dad, I'm sorry about Waylon," she continued. "Known him going to 30 years, Charlie said, transparently torn up from Waylon's sudden and unpleasant passing. Bella placed her hand onto Charlie's shoulder to comfort him, which the latter held gently and squeezed. It's one of the few rare moments when the awkward barriers between her and the latter were broken and regards for each other's well-being predominates. Cullen's residence. It was already past 10 o'clock when Carlisle and Edward arrived. The expression on everyone's faces turned dark and hard as Carlisle told them about the earlier incident. They feared that the ripples caused by the incident would be significant enough to reach the attention of the Volturi, evoking their wrath. "Nomads?" Esme inquired, nervously. "Most likely," Carlisle replied, agreeing with her. "Or maybe not," Edward said in a stern voice. He and Naruto traded glances, confirming that they had the same notion as to who or what is responsible for the reckless and relatively ruthless slaughter. "He nearly made us believe he's human," Jasper supplemented, revealing that he too shared the same suspicion. "What do you mean?" Carlisle inquired. He, along with Esme, Alice, Rosalie and Emmett, were all bewildered. "Well, there is this pompous brat. I think it's time for us to confront him," Naruto responded with a clenched fist and a deathly expression on his face. The next day was a Saturday. Bella woke up a bit late than she usually does. The rain from the previous night has ceased and left a myriad of puddles that reflected the opaque cloud forms drifting above. "Dad, where's the truck?" Bella inquired after noticing that her truck wasn't in its usual spot. "Ah yeah, I forgot to tell you. I noticed that the engine is making this odd noise, so I had Jacob pick it up yesterday for repairs." "Oh, I see," Bella mumbled. Are you going somewhere today, Bells? Yes, actually. I'm going to a friend's house to do our biology project. Which friend? Charlie inquired. Alex Storm. He's new here, just moved in a couple of months ago. Bella hesitantly answered. The eccentric rich kid? Charlie once again queried. Yes. You know him? Not personally, though I know where he lives. His house is at the edge of town. I can give you a ride there. That would be great, Dad. Isn't that he the same boy you accidentally need in the... Charlie said, suppressing a chuckle. Yes, Bella replied uncomfortably in a sarcastic tone. Quote. On their way, Charlie suddenly remembered something as the cruiser was about to pass Newton's Olympic Outfitters. Lately there were strange rumors circulating around town of a giant bear that has been spotted by a few passing hikers, and the said establishment is where it was first heard of. He suspected that the said animal may be responsible for Waylon's death, so he opted to confirm it. Bella, do you mind if we pull over for a while? I have some errands to run. It won't take much time, Charlie said in a voice that was rather contemplative. Sure, Dad, Bella replied. Charlie pulled over and parked just adjacent to the shop. For some reasons she couldn't comprehend, Bella was compelled by what seemed to be an invisible force to walk towards the establishment and go inside. As she entered, Mr. Newton genially greeted her and Charlie. She then saw Mike behind the cashier's counter, having great difficulty trying to hang something on the wall. Oh, hey Bella, Mike greeted him jovially. I can't believe my luck today. He thought, happy as a clam. Mike, Bella greeted back. What are you doing there anyway? She then inquired. Just hanging this digitally enhanced picture of my great-grandfather and his crewmates. My dad thinks it looks classy. Mike explained, smirking. Have a little family pride, son. Your great-grandfather is one of the first people who reached the Antarctic during his time. And besides, it does look classy. Mr. Newton, who apparently heard his son's wily comment, momentarily severed his conversation with Charlie for a riposte. Bella pressed her lip into a line, suppressing a giggle, then converting it into a vague smile. So yeah, my great-grandpa was the doctor at this steamship called the Isabel. Mike explained in a hush and much more respectful voice. Hey, you want to see something weird? He then continued. I don't know, Bella replied. She already met her weirdness quota the other night. Look at the person at the top left of the photo, the one that looks like he's wearing a weird jumpsuit thing. Mike said, enthusiastically. Bella did so and was astounded from what she saw. As that, she muttered but can't finish her sentence for it seems too surreal for credibility. Looks exactly like Naruto, right? I don't know that jumpsuits were a hit back then, Mike finished it, chuckling as he cracked from his own joke. When was this picture taken? Bella inquired, quite intrigued. About 1855 or 1856, I am not exactly sure, Mike ponderingly answered. Out of sudden phantasmagoric visions flashed before Bella's eyes. She then recalled the dream about the great tree and the visions it furnished her, becoming increasingly lucid and overwhelmingly vivid the longer she looked at the photo. Are you all right, Bella? Mike inquired, worried. Yeah, I'm good, Bella replied, holding her head, momentarily dazed and unable to think properly from the uncanny experience. Quote, the entire interim of the drive passed ephemerally like an insignificant spark, for Bella was deep in her contemplation, quite absorbed from the perturbing visions. She suddenly heard Charlie's voice saying something, rousing her back to her senses. Bells were here, Charlie said, pointing at the luxurious mansion wrought of chalk-white marble. The colossal edifice was larger than most malls they've ever saw, and it towered lordly over the trees in the vicinity. On its huge facade stood multi-columned porticos of the same chalk-white marble and a great iron-wood portals superbly etched and gilded in Rococo designs. Charlie rang the bell and an elderly man dressed in a business suit came out to receive them. Chief Swan, Ms. Bella, please do come in, he said warmly. My name is Sebastian, the head butler of this household. He then introduced himself as he guided them in. The interior of the lofty edifice was even grander, oozing with luxury and splendor. Elegant imperial chandeliers fashioned from the finest Italian crystals hung on the delicately frescoed and gilded ceiling. Overlooking the glossy floor of polished marble that was intricately mosaicked with semi-precious stones in classical Byzantine and Roman-inspired designs, and an arcade of malachite wrought columns, standing by the pair, with their capitals crowned with golden acanthus leaves. Their base, along with the relief-etched frieze and even the modillion, were all gilded as well. Suits of medieval armor stood proud in the hallways and corridors, wielding swords, poleaxes or mace-like silent sentinels, while opulent Rococo furnishings and remarkable works of art such as great urns of lapis lazuli, carved ivory tusks, magnificent sculptures and priceless paintings adorned the aesthetically stunning palatial residence of the Storms. A fairly sizable sculpture of a perching firebird caught Charlie's attention. It was wrought of solid gold, and its crest and tail feathers were accented by delicately embedded flawless gemstones. While Bella was intrigued by a strange painting, depicting 4 men, all of whom have death-white pale skin and inhuman beauty as a common attribute. The first 3 were sitting on throne-like royal chairs while the last was standing just behind the third. They all have piercing burgundy red eyes, save for the last which possess an amber gold shade. Upon closer inspection, Bella saw that the divergent character bears a shockingly uncanny resemblance to a familiar character, Carlisle Cullen. "Miss Swan, this way please," Sebastian said, ushering her before she could make any further scrutiny of the peculiar painting. "Quite some house you got here," Charlie commented, impressed. The late Lord and Lady Storm were ardent connoisseurs of art. Their impeccable aesthetic acuity was their common denominator, if I may say so. Sebastian replied. "Well, that explains the fine taste in home decorations." Charlie thought. "I am sorry, did you say late?" He then continued reluctantly but was even more hesitant to finish the sentence. Bella on the other hand felt a bit sheepish and rueful, for she forgot to tell Charlie about Alex's parents and how any topic concerning them deeply saddens him. "Yes, I'm afraid they have passed away, sir," the elderly butler said in a somber voice. "Their death has devastated Master Alexander profoundly." "I'm sorry, I didn't know," Charlie responded in a low and solemn voice. "But if you don't mind me asking, what do they do for a living, when, you know, they're still alive?" He then cautiously asked out of curiosity. "Dad," Bella said in a low hissing voice, in protest to the nosy inquiry. "Certainly, Lord Gabriel Storm, the Master's father, was a successful banker, and his mother, the Lady Elara de Sanguius Storm, was the current head of the noble house of Sanguinus, which is one of Europe's leading weapons manufacturers since the medieval ages. Though after the Second World War, the family conglomerate decided to expand their corporate portfolio from military technologies and armament production to other industries such as power generation, naval engineering and construction, aerospace technology, pharmaceuticals, telecommunication, software design and development, shipping, and financial services. They also have significant investments on a number of tech firms throughout the globe, own oil drilling platforms and refineries in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, and operates a recently acquired satellite control and launch facility in Kazakhstan. The elderly butler responded, explaining every detail like an orator as they walked in the halls and corridors of the mansion. Sebastian then opened a hinged patio leading to an indoor garden. Bella entered first and saw the luxuriant botanical underbrush flourishing on the temperature-controlled structure. There were pygmy date palms yielding sumptuous amounts of produce, lush pomegranate trees with beautiful fire-colored blooms and large crimson fruits, a myriad of exotic and ornamental flora such as pink blossom trees and other plants with brightly colored flowers such as orchids, lilies, roses and peonies. An indoor waterfall cascaded and flowed into a series of papyrus and lotus-accented man-made ponds that were the sanctuary of multitudinously hued koi fishes and exotic turtles. On the largest pond, at the center of 2 adjoining bridges, stood a water gazebo where Alex was. He didn't seem to notice them come in and appeared to be frantically busy expending inordinate amount of efforts setting up the study area. He appeared preoccupied checking the minutest of details, making sure everything is perfect. "Excuse me, sir, Miss Swan is here," Sebastian announced. "Hey Bella, I hope you don't mind doing our project." "Oh hello there Chief Swan," Alex jovially said, happy as a clam but was startled to see Charlie with her. "Hey," Bella awkwardly greeted back with a furrowed eyebrows. Charlie nodded with a straight face in greeting but was laughing at the back of his head. "Well, I'll be going now. Pick you up at 5 bells," he then said to Bella, suppressing a chuckle, before he left. "So, yeah, I already made the report regarding DNA replication of diploid germ cells. I just need," Alex said, enthusiastically but was cut off. Alex, Bella said with an incredulous look on her face. Yeah, what's all this about? Oh, that would be the DNA structural model we're going to use. It's not finished though, so, perhaps we could finish it together. Alex said in a sheepish but hopeful voice. That's not what I meant. I thought we're going to do our biology project. I didn't agree to a date. Bella said, raising a brow. What? No, I didn't. You see, I just thought you would prefer here cause, you know, you're from Arizona, and a familiar scenery would be nice. Alex incoherently mumbled, stuttering as he tried to fabricate a reasonable premise but was obviously transparent. And that, Bella said, pointing at a nearby coffee table filled with plates of different kinds of hors d'oeuvres. Snacks, in case we get hungry, Alex replied, discomfited. Let's just do it, okay? Bella smirked at the young man's staggered reaction. Do what? Alex said awkwardly in a flustered but somewhat slightly hopeful voice. His eyes widened and his cheeks slightly blushed. The project. Bella sighed and replied in a deadpan tone. Oh, okay, Alex said in a sheepish voice while the blushing on his face gradually became more intense. Hours passed and the uncomfortable barrier between the two gradually dissolved by the labor-intensive technicalities of their biology project. Bella suddenly remembered the peculiar painting she saw earlier and decided to ask Alex about it. Hey, can I ask you a question? Bella said in a somewhat quiet but serious voice. Yeah, Alex replied, closing his laptop to focus on her. There is this painting I saw a while ago while we're on our way here. I'm just wondering about it. Which one? It's the one depicting 4 men. 2 of them have long black hair while the other 2 were blonde. They were sitting in what looked like thrones, except for the last one who was standing behind the other blonde. Bella said, trying to remember as much detail of the painting as she could. The Volturi, Alex extrapolated. I'm sorry, what? Bella inquired with a bemused expression on her face. The painting it called the Volturi, Alex explained in a gentle voice. You know, there's an interesting story behind that piece of work. He then continued. Can you please tell me? Bella pleaded. Okay, it was painted by a relatively obscure Italian artist named Vincenzo Lazzari in the early 19th century, and believed to be the last of his work, for he disappeared a few days later after he completed it. What happened to him? Bella wondered. Nobody knows. People thought that he was a little crazy, always spouting about things that go bump in the night and stuff. Another strange thing is that, decades later, a man who bears an uncanny resemblance to him suddenly appeared in the outskirts of Lyon. The peculiarly pale stranger declared himself to be the long-lost artist and painted a number of incredible works of art in the same style Lazzari utilized to substantiate his assertion. He also claimed that he was turned into a monster by one of the men in the painting and detested his damned existence ever since. It didn't take long and he too disappeared, never to be seen again. Alex explained in a calm and resonant voice but was singularly penetrating. A monster? What kind of monster? Bella inquired. Her curiosity has now become a great conflagration that pushed her to dig deeper, to learn as much as she could. Try some canapes, they're really good, or maybe some mini beef Wellingtons, smoked salmon crostini, or perhaps some caviar. I'll have Sebastian fetch us some beluga caviar, you'll love it. Alex said in a pleasant and jovial voice, offering Bella something to eat from the assortments of gourmet delicacies, served on the numerous silver platters atop the nearby coffee table. No thanks, Bella said with a vague smile. Are you sure? They're really good, Alex said in a silly and childlike manner, persuading her to try some. Okay. Bella relented, amused on how puerile Alex can be. She tried some seared foie gras pate. Its rich, buttery and delicate taste melted on her tongue, and it was divine. It's really good, she complimented. Told ya, Alex amiably said in a silly voice. His eyes were sparkling and an innocent broad smile played on the edges of his lip. Hey, about my question earlier. Bella suddenly remembered her prior inquiry, before her senses were clouded by the captious thraldom of the extraordinarily appetizing finger food. Oh, where are my manners? Let me get you some iced tea, Alex said in a tremulous voice that instantly became less coherent as he noticed Bella giving him a dubious stare. Pomegranate juice perhaps, he then continued, uncomfortably and with a nervous smile. No, thank you, but you can answer my question. Bella said in a serious tone, crossing her arms. She noticed that Alex was deliberately eluding the topic for some reason and opted to give him a stern and piercing look in order to compel the latter to furnish her with the information she requires. Those are unnecessary details anyway, Bella, Alex dissuaded her. I want to hear it. Nonetheless, Bella persisted. Alex's discouragement only fueled her curiosity. Very well, Alex sighed in concede. He, however, hesitated more than a few times and was reticent for a lengthy interim before answering her question, and when he finally did, he answered quite cautiously, choosing his words carefully as he spoke. They are called by many names, but troubled souls are what they really are. They are the walking dead, Bella. As per folklore, it is said that these undead beings subsist their ghastly form of immortal existence by draining and consuming the life essences of the living. Life essences? Bella inquired in a low voice. She already knew the answer to her own question but asked nonetheless. Blood in particular, Alex replied in a somewhat blasé voice, like he has seen these creatures firsthand and witnessed their activities himself but was completely indifferent to it. Bella turned taciturn for she was completely absorbed and in deep contemplation. Vampires? She involuntarily queried in a hushed voice, though the answer was intuitively obvious. As a matter of definition, yes, but of course it's just a bunch of silly superstitions. Alex said in a comforting voice and with a reassuring smile. Tell me more, Bella said, curiously. I'm afraid it's all I know. Alex replied sheepishly, scratching the bridge of his nose. There is something he's not telling me. She thought, but the young man's silvery voice and relatively goofy personality has somewhat sponged away the feeling of suspicion and anxiety, superseding them with an unclouded equanimity that she found particularly pleasant. Bella's house. Bella was in her room, sitting on her bed, and was haunted by the strange things that occurred that day. The eldritch visions on her dream, the strange boy in the century-old photo, the uncanny painting at Alex's house, along with the enigma of the latter who she felt was hiding something from her. On her pondering, she inadvertently stumbled upon the book she bought from that bookstore at Port Angeles but never had the chance to read. She took it out from the bag and started flipping its pages. As she leafed through its contents, she saw some beautiful photos of carved, ancient masks, who was both captivating and menacing. Then a particular picture caught her attention. It was a photo of bone-white mask with pitch-black eyes and rows of needle-like sharp teeth. The inscription below it says, "The Cold One, Abudamkin." Bella quickly went into her desk and turned on her old computer. She hated using the internet there. Her modem was sadly outdated and her free service was substandard that just dialing up took a toll on her patience. To make matters worse, her screen was filled with pop-up ads the next moment she looked. She closed them all down and eventually found a promising site. It has simple white background and black text, quite academic looking, and with two quotes greeting her at the homepage. Throughout the whole vast shadowy world of ghosts and demons there is no figure so terrible, no figure so dreaded and abhorred, yet dight with such fearful fascination, as the vampire, who is himself neither ghost nor demon, but yet who partakes the dark natures and possesses the mysterious and terrible qualities of both. Reverend Montague Summers. If there is in this world a well-attested account, it is that of vampires. Nothing is lacking. Official reports, affidavits of well-known people, of surgeons, of priests, of magistrates, the judicial proof is most complete. And with all that, who is there who believes in vampires? The rest of the site was an alphabetized listing of all the different myths of vampires held throughout the world. She read carefully throughout the descriptions and saw the link on Abudamkin. She clicked it and several pictures began loading, tapestries, engravings and paintings, all of which depicting the cold-skinned Abudamkin devouring his victims. It caught Bella's interest and she continued to click the links and read its content. The several words leap out in succession: speed, strength, cold skin, traits that Edward possesses, she speculated. Then she saw two other words that dumbstruck her: immortal, and finally, blood drinker. Suddenly the picture and the painting of the persons with uncanny resemblance to Naruto and Dr. Cullen flashed before her eyes, along with the chilling sensation of when she first touched Edward's cold skin. She also recalled the particular thing Alex mentioned to him earlier: undead beings subsist their ghastly form of immortal existence by draining and consuming the life essences of the living. It's not possible, she murmured to herself. reeling back into the computer in utter disbelief as the eerie pieces of the puzzle finally fell into place, rendering a spine-chilling conclusion. Quote, Storm Residence, Library. Alex was at the library, reading a rather large volume that was bound in slate covers of leather and copper that was etched with uncanny seals and runes, and with verdigris-eaten clasps. As he enjoyed reading the strange tome, a pair of predator-like eyes watched surreptitiously behind the shadows. "You might as well come out now," Alex said without gazing away from the pages of the volume. "Troubled soul, ghastly existence. Oh, I'm deeply hurt," a velvety voice answered in a somewhat coquettish tone as he revealed himself. He was a tall man, standing at about 6 feet in height, and was inhumanly beautiful. He has blonde hair that is not quite shoulder length, and that is rather curly, which sometimes, curiously, appears white under fluorescent lighting. His eyes are gray, but they absorb the colors of blue or violet easily from surfaces around them. He has a short narrow nose, and a mouth that is well-shaped, but has always been slightly large for his face. His mouth can look very mean or extremely generous, but always sensual. His face was constantly animated and beautiful, with skin that is deathly white and highly reflective, and glazed fingernails which gives the impression that they're made of glass. "Well, that's what you get for eavesdropping, Lestat," Alex said, smiling. He then closed the book, placing it back on the shelf. "C'est la vie," Lestat replied, accompanied by a penetrating laugh. "So very kind of you to pay me a visit," Alex greeted him in a manner like an old friend that he hasn't seen for a long time. "It is always a pleasure to see you, my lord," he then formally greeted Alex back, genuflecting with a vampiric grin on his face. "There's no need for such unnecessary formalities, my friend," Alex chuckled. "Would you rather prefer if I address you by your real name?" Lestat said, teasing Alex with a crooked smile on his face. "Alex will be fine," he casually replied. "I must say, I find it surprising to know that a greater being of immense power is a little shy around girls, and so puerile and ticklish. I like it," Lestat continued teasing as he gracefully glided ever so closer. "I'm not perfect, you know," Alex shrugged. "Just nigh omnipotent," Lestat said with a sensual but leery smile on his face. "I trust that the power I vouchsafed served you well?" Alex inquired rhetorically, diverging from the topic. "Yes, better than sex as a matter of fact. Which reminds me, you know my offer still stands," Lestat said as he sensually ran his forefinger around Alex's chest. "Offer? The way I see it, it's more like a wishful request," Alex chuckled. Admittedly I'm the one who's going to enjoy it the most, but it would be a mutually beneficial deal," Lestat whispered softly, while his hand gently brushed the young man's face going down to his shoulder. "And how is that?" Alex inquired in an ambiguous tone while giving the vampire an incredulous gaze. "Well, once you have been immersed in the art of making love, then perhaps you wouldn't act like such a goof around your precious Bella," Lestat, who is now behind Alex, coquettishly posited while playfully nibbling on the young man's earlobes, making the latter's brow furrow. "How generous of you, but the short answer is no," Alex said sarcastically with a deadpan expression. "Dude, seriously, stop that, you're making things weird. You won't regret it, I promise," Lestat persuaded sensually while lifting Alex's shirt just enough to expose the lower portion of his washboard abs and commencing to unbutton his trousers. "Enough with these trivialities," Alex said in a calm but penetrating voice. Lestat then suddenly found himself standing miles away from his previous position and in front of the Cullen's house, which was a sizable and modern structure, located fairly deep in the forest. "What just happened? Where am I?" Lestat mumbled, confounded by the strange nature of his transition. "Somewhere interesting," Alex said in an eerie echoing voice, as he materialized himself from the shadows. "We were in your library just moments ago. How did I get here?" Lestat queried with a cloud of bewilderment in his face. "Distance is but an illusion amidst the dappled shadows of time and space," Alex replied, amused by the staggered expression on the vampire's face. I didn't caught any of that, but an interesting trick, I must admit," Lestat said, regaining much of his confidence and composure. "I wonder how he learned it." He then thought to himself. "I didn't learn it at all. It comes naturally to me, like other curious things," Alex replied, flashing a boyish smile. "I should have known better and expect such cryptic answers from you." Lestat shrugged nonchalantly. Alex just laughed. He then scooped a handful of soil from the ground with his open palm, molded it into what looked like a fat worm with hollow eye sockets and a gaping maw. "What is that?" Lestat inquired with an appalled facial expression and in a voice laced with disgust as he beheld the aesthetically abhorrent sculpture. "It doesn't have a name yet," Alex retorted. A demonic grin then emanated from his face that foreboded and strangely aroused his companion. "Ah, yes, your name shall be Raylim Shykorth. The people inhabiting this house are vampires," Lestat commented. "Apparently, save for one. He is different," Alex answered. He then turned his gaze to Lestat. "Are you afraid?" He teased the vampire, but before the latter could utter any protest he once again spoke. "Don't be, for we are absolutely imperceptible to the most of them. And though Naruto could subtly sense our presence, he does not possess the power to even slightly harm an outer god, and by extension nor can he harm you." "Now what?" Lestat inquired in a somewhat exasperated and jaded tone. "Now we'll give it life," Alex said in a voice that was like the soft luminescence of distant stars translated into sound. The sculpture then floated away from his hand and was engulfed in an aura of fiery white energy and blinding iridescent light as it began to be animated and grew into colossal size, with its body coiling around the Cullen's house. Cullen's house. It was a fairly quiet night and nothing seems to be out of the ordinary. Edward was in his room listening to some Debussy while the rest of the coven was watching Naruto and Jasper play chess downstairs. Naruto's expression suddenly turned grave. "Someone's watching us," he said in a stern tone. "No one is around, you're just being paranoid," Rosalie scoffed. Carlyle was baffled. He too couldn't sense anyone either, but he however knew that the shinobi has a much more acute and superior senses compared to the rest of them. Suddenly the temperature lowered and a great coldness predominated. The strange cold was eldritch and preternatural in nature, for even the vampires were affected by it. They began to weaken. Their hands and ears ached as if their bones were being frozen solid as the utter chill smote sharply through their skin. "What's happening?" Jasper barely muttered with his numbing lips. Soon they noticed a light shining beyond their window. It was pale and frigid as fire of ice, as if a belated moon has now risen above the forest. Though they knew the moon was at that time a thin crescent, declining with the eventide. Naruto was then engulfed with a golden shroud of bright and warm chakra that expanded like a shockwave, melting away the cold that sadistically tormented the rest of his family. "Whoever did this better run," he exclaimed as rippled patterns emerged from his now purple and faintly glowing eyes, and a swirling Rasengan formed in his right hand. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.